Now, I believe
New York
this is New York City, and we were there,
Natural History Museum.
that's right, in front of the museum, and this had to be in December of 1969. And there's Ethan Paul holding a box of something, probably model airplanes, and the snow on the ground. I don't remember the snow on the ground. This is 69, 175 West 87th Street. This is Ethan Paul coming down the stairs. My father had a apartment upstairs on the third floor. This is a brownstone, and this is where I would see him for the very last time. Within 6 months, he had died in February of 1970. That's the famous picture I have back in Michigan of my father. I believe that's Ethan Paul and my father doing something there. I don't know what he's doing. And yeah, I have that picture in my study. Now this is at Mary's house up in Hempstead, and I took a picture of my father reading something. He always wore a shirt and tie and a sweater. This is at the Toscanos. Ethan Paul watching TV. I wonder what show we were watching. And I think this is either Stevie or Frankie. My father coming down the stairs. And I think my sister would like to see this photo because it was in her home. In her home, in Hempstead. There we go again.
So this is the California trip now. In
This is,
1970.
so we did go, before we went to Egypt and Greece, we must have taken a trip out west to see my mother. And this is the Indian ruins way out west. I don't know if it's the Navajo or, but how desolate everything is. There's Philip and Ethan Paul. They're looking at,
Looks like the Painted Desert.
yeah. You guys were good buddies, you know that? Well, when you're that age, you know,
Mm-hmm.
did you guys have a lot of fights when you were this age? I mean,
Well, when it was just the three of us, I remember it was easy because I think one person was in front and then one person had all of the back. But when it was the four of us, usually whoever the two were in back would fight over whose side people were on.
this is a photo of Fifi and my sister Mary, Zuki, in Wilklow Avenue, 21 Wilklow Avenue in Long Beach. They had, George, my brother, had bought two houses. This house and the one next door that eventually my sister and her husband lived. And this was Fifi's house. My brother George said to Fifi, you can live here for as long as you live. This will be your house. And this was her very first house she had in America. And my brother, of course, torpedoed everything a few years later when he sold these two houses, and my mother had to leave and go to an apartment on Kennebec. I believe it was Kennebec. And, no, this is Kennebec. Well, anyway, so this is my mother's house, and so this was in 1970, the summer before we went to Europe. There's Fifine feeding.
Probably me.
You think so?
Could be Ethan Paul, though.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Fifine was a nice person. She loved her place. We went to the beach, Long Beach, and there's Phil making a fort, or is he digging to go to China? I don't know.
Beach with
Long
oil
Beach.
derricks.
With the oil derricks. So the kids were played in the Atlantic Ocean, and now you can say in the Pacific Ocean. Very interesting. This is Fifine and my sister, and I don't know who she's calling. Boy, my mother was heavy, but boy, was she able to walk. If this is 1970, she was only 72 years old.
I remember her walking down to the pier a couple times.
There we are with Stevie, Long Beach.
Looks like
Oh.
Frankie.
Oh, Frankie, right. And there's somebody here, and of course Ethan Paul. I wonder if that's Philip trying to hide, or are they? Oh, I know what it was. They're burying him. Or is it Stevie they're burying? They're burying somebody. We'll find out. And this is where you guys slept. Ethan Paul and Philip. Again at the ocean. Always making sandcastles. And there's Fifine pointing. She's probably saying, now eat your food. Raisin bran. And yeah. She had a pair of glasses there too.
Petrified Forest.
This is the Petrified Forest, right. And I don't know if this was on the trip going or coming back in 1970. And Ethan Paul is pointing to something, and Philip is pointing, I think, the other way. Probably saying, who knows, look at that. We're getting near the Grand Canyon, and I don't know if actually this is part of it, but I know the car, we drove up and stopped, and I was, we were very close to the edge. And I remember saying to the kids, don't get too near, because if you fall down, go a mile down.
This is back in
Now, this is New York City. This had to be, well, this is not in order, but if this is New York City, it would have to be, not in wintertime, obviously. It almost looks like a
it looks like a store-bought.
store-bought. The United Nations, the Chrysler Building, and the Empire State Building. Yes, these are store-bought. This is the United Nations. This is the Security Council, where you have the 11 members, the 5 permanent, and the other 6 that rotate. And the big issues of the day from 1945 through, let's say, 1970 were decided here. And who do you think used the most vetoes? It was the Soviet Union, right? We had a few, the English had a few, and the French had a few vetoes. There are the flags of the then United Nations. I see on the extreme right the old Yugoslavian flag. Today, of course, Yugoslavia doesn't exist. You would have Serbia and the other countries of the former Yugoslavia. Now we're back in New York, sitting in front of the Museum of Natural History.
Yeah, this is